All right, guys, we're live here after the 2025 WWE Royal Rumble. A shocking result. I would say probably one of the most shocking results in a men's Royal Rumble. I mean, it probably maybe the most shocking men's Royal Rumble match finish we've ever seen. Not because of necessarily just the way it ended, but I think just no one was expecting of all the names we were talking about. And we've talked about, listen, Jey getting over as one of the top stars in the company. You guys know I just did a video on that for Saturday's main event. I'm like, I wouldn't be stunned if he wins the title, right? I said it. I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked. Now, I wasn't going to pick it to happen, but I would not be shocked if WWE eventually goes all the way with Jey Uso. And this is a signal that WWE is ready to go all the way with Jey Uso. Because, I mean, yes, look, there were a few people out there, and I will say, you did say, you called it, said Jey's going to win this thing. Incredible. And look, there were a couple people, like you said, there weren't a lot, but there were some people that said, let's see what happens here. Did they find a way to give Jey another shot after the Saturday night's main event thing? But yes, I mean, that was probably the most surprising Royal Rumble winner ever. And again, it's not a knock on Jey, but it's just, remember, all the conversation coming in was, yeah, T-Rob, what about that, huh? All the conversation was about John Cena, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, like all these different people we were talking about that could be possibilities, right? And they decide to take the risk and pick Jey. But you know what? It's really not a huge risk, because you guys know why I'm going to say that. It's because the guy is just as over as can be. And I'm not stunned that WWE decided to make this decision. I am stunned that they actually did it, but I'm not stunned that they were going to eventually do it at some point, because that was kind of the talk we had in that lead up to Saturday night's main event. That video we did before last week. It was, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to put the title on the guy. And so if you're even thinking about that, maybe, in a situation where you kind of put him there. And just quickly, before I forget this, so I will go into it, but I don't think Punk wins the Elimination Chamber. I think Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, because I think that you were looking at this, they got the visual they wanted at the end, where Cena's on the apron. And look, all of us probably, I'm definitely thinking this. I'm like, okay, Cena's going to get back in. He's going to knock Jey out. That's it, right? But when Jey pushes him off the apron, that's when you get that WWE visual of it's just Cena's face. Like, he's stunned. He doesn't know what to do now, right? Because he's sitting here thinking, what the hell am I going to do? I lost my shot at getting to WrestleMania to break that break the record for the world championship. And so now I think you're definitely putting Cena in a position where he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. And, we thought that going in, but remember, I said that I thought it may be Rollins being the person to face Gunther. We did think it was going to be whoever was going to face Gunther, or who knows, right? Maybe somebody beats Gunther at the Elimination Chamber to set up the match with Jey. But because they've kind of gone with this Jey Gunther story that they've had before, right? The previous matches, even before the Saturday night's main event one, I could see that being the case, right? So, yeah, I mean, look, the star power that was there, and that's what, we're thinking of all the, legendary star power. Remember the sequence where it was Cena was in there, Reigns was in there, Punk comes out, then Rollins comes out, and you're thinking, oh, man, okay, come on now. Here's your final four right here, right? That was the one I predicted. But, my goodness, just stunning, I think, for them to actually, because look, in the Vince McMahon era, let's call it what it is, they were never going to go out on a limb and make a decision like this. But like I've said too, they're the ones who see all the merch sales, and they see all the Yeet merchandise flying off the shelves. And so they were going to give Jey his moment, and I think that this is worth saying here. Will brings it up, okay? And I'll try to get to some of you guys' chat. There's a lot of people in the chat. Leave a super chat. I guarantee you I'll get to it, and I'll get to Michael's here in just a second. But, I mean, look, Jey is put... think about the journey of Jey Uso. If we set aside everything else for a second, right? Jey is someone who came from being, in a tag team for years and years and years, went out on his own, and we've talked about it. That was the story of Jey Uso before the Bloodline got back together for, one more dance at Survivor Series, right? That was the story we talked about, was Jey going out on his own and being able to earn that spot. And I know we've talked about it before, right? He's not the 5-star wrestler. He's not getting all the 5-star matches and all this other stuff. You know my thoughts on that. Doesn't matter. Like, is the guy over? Is he getting the reaction from the crowd? Is he pushing the merch? He's doing all that. And it's not going backwards, right? It's just getting hotter and hotter. And so if there was going to be a time you were going to take a chance and do something like this on a Jey Uso, this was it, right? Because I think at this point, it's kind of a scenario where it was now or never if you were going to do it with Jey. A year from now, is it the same? I don't know. We can't guarantee that, right? So I'm not. It's something to say. I'm stunned, but I'm not stunned, if that makes sense, because you're stunned that they actually did it, but you're not stunned knowing the reason behind it. So I think it's more of one of those things. So, there's a lot to talk about coming out of this. It's just, it is pretty wild to kind of look at the setup that we have here now. All right, so I'm going to get to Super Chats here. All right, so let me get to one here. Yeah, already live. I know, like I said, we got a lot to go over here, and I do have kind of a limit on the time this evening because I have to jump to another thing, actually. But we're going to try to get to as much as we can here over the next, half hour or so. And then we'll probably come back tomorrow and discuss more with you guys. But this will just be kind of the quick reaction. Let's share our thoughts on everything that happened. All right. Michael Super Chat, $4.99 here. I appreciate it, Michael. Does that mean Cody's title needs the 4-way? Do we get Rollins, Punk, Roman, and Cody? Jey deserves this. Yeah, I agree in terms of Jey getting the opportunity. But, it's got to be Jey going back for the World Championship, right? Because I just don't see that scenario where you're doing Jey versus Cody because, again, my thought is that Cena is going to win the Elimination Chamber to get to Cena versus Cody. I think now it's pretty clear, at least in my opinion. And maybe, now, they're kind of going with the scenario that, here's the thing too, right, is if you're doing Punk and Reigns in some combination, and Rollins has to be included in that, right? That's where, they make a big thing. Okay, so Kevin just brought it up. So Jey just confirmed, so he confirmed he's going after the world title. So I would think that's probably, the match you're getting. And I assume it's the rematch, but like we said, you never know what can happen between now and then, maybe for Gunther. But, that's the question you have to ask yourself, right? Is it seems pretty obvious that it's going to be Cody versus Cena now, but do you just do the triple threat between Reigns, Punk, and Rollins? Listen, that's a good match, but is that as big as doing Reigns versus Punk, or any of the other combinations, right? Even Rollins versus Gunther. So, it's tough now because I think they've certainly opened up a lot more interesting possibilities just because when they say that Jey is going to main event WrestleMania, you've got to think he's main eventing one of the nights, right? And when we thought maybe it was going to be Cody Cena is going to main event one night and then maybe Punk and Reigns going to main event another night, we didn't know whether World Championship kind of fell on that. So that's going to be the interesting thing here is that, look, the interest for a Gunther versus Jey as a headlining one night, or 2-night type event, I don't know if it's the same, right, as it would be if you had the Cody, Cena, Reigns, Punk, Rollins. But maybe that's what they decide to do. Maybe they do that and have, Punk, Seth, and Reigns headline the other night. And maybe Jey kind of gets that mid-show kind of World Championship match. They could do that and still say main event. But I don't know. Look, the Punk versus Rollins, it's a good point. I think the Rollins versus Punk, the hatred those two have for each other, and they're clearly tying Reigns into that now based on how this thing ended. But I just, I have way more questions than answers now when it comes to this WrestleMania 41 card. So I just, I don't know. Yeah, look, here's something else too. I'll tell you, and we're just, remember how we do these reaction things. We're just reacting on the fly. We'll bring up everything, but this is more just reaction than it is a full match by match review and all that. I just react to what you guys are saying here. Jey knocking Sami out, I didn't think they made a big enough deal out of that. And it almost felt like the commentary was caught off guard a little bbit to where they didn't make a huge deal out of the fact that Jey was the one to eliminate Sami. Now, if you add that layer into this, we know Rollins just snapped. When is, Sami Zayn going to snap eventually after he saw Cody do what he did to Kevin Owens in their ladder match? And so yeah, like they've added a lot of interesting wrinkles here. So you would think in the Elimination Chamber, coming out of this, we know Jay's getting the world title shot, assumedly here. So I mean, again, you've got to put this in a scenario where you're going to have Cena in the Elimination Chamber. You would think Punk, he wants one more opportunity. Cena and Punk are going to be in there. I mean, Rollins just destroyed Reigns. So it's like, is Reigns going to be in there too? You would think he needs to be, but man, Rollins really took it to him. So Rollins is probably going to be in there. So I mean, the Elimination Chamber match is going to be absolutely stacked. I mean, Orton is another, someone just said too, like, could Orton be back in the mix there? Owens, do you feel like is going to try to get another chance? You put Owens in there with Zayn, McIntyre, right? So, man, the Elimination Chamber match is going to be very interesting to see who gets those slots, right? Because you're not doing 2 men's Elimination Chamber matches, you're doing 1. So, I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see what comes out of this too. Hey, Eduardo called it. I wasn't sure, but you did say that Strowman was going to come out and get the revenge on Jacob Fatu. When Jacob Fatu came in, I'm thinking, who's going to throw this guy out? I was like, that's when the match really started. But it was Strowman. You were the right one on that one. I thought there'd be more interaction. Maybe someone like a Reigns or a Jey or someone like that throws out Jacob Fatu. But yeah, it wound up being Strowman getting the revenge. So they went with the sort of the simple, addition on that. But all right, so let's see what else we've got here. $2 super chat. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Again, we haven't done as many videos here recently, but you know why. I'm living that dad toddler life, and we just hadn't had a chance to do as many videos. But we're always going live after these big PLEs, especially the Royal Rumble. So, all right, we're going to keep rolling through here. And see what someone said, too much cardio for Jacob Fatu. All right, let's see what else we got to get to. So, again, we're just going to kind of run through some different things. This was just a wild night, as we know. Let's get through the other stuff quickly first, and we'll get right back to this. So, Cody versus Owens, about what we thought. I mean, we knew Cody was going to retain the championship. The way he did it, Cody kind of embracing his dark side, I thought was notable. Because why? Sami Zayn's out there to watch it. He's out there seeing Cody take it to another level. And so I think that is going to play a big sort of part in this whole thing moving forward with Sami. If he eventually snaps, it's going to be because he saw firsthand that maybe Kevin Owens was right about Cody, right? Like Cody doesn't mind, destroying his friends to be able to keep what he wants. And so I think that adds another layer to Sami, as did the Jey elimination, as you guys noted. So I think, yeah, that's going to be something where Cody is going to be in that position now where there's going to be plenty of reasons you can believe Kevin Owens was right. And we said that before. Yeah, I'm not sure what else we get beyond that, but I think Cody winning was the obvious choice. You guys know I thought that Owens was going to come back and enter the Rumble, but I knew after they destroyed him after the ladder match, I was like, he's not coming back probably. So I think it more plays into Sami Zayn than it does anything else, but give Sami a reason to believe that the KO was right maybe about Cody. And does Randy Orton see the same thing? Randy Orton just got to sit back and see the lengths that Cody is willing to go to keep his championship, to destroy his former friend Kevin Owens, right? How does that play into the story? It's going to at some point. Here's another good question. I just forgot about this, and we'll get back. I mean, we're going to jump all over the place. You guys know this is just kind of a rapid stream we do here, just bouncing around, Q&A, all that. I am very curious why Solo was not in the Rumble. I thought for sure Solo Sikoa would be in this Rumble. You heard me on the predictions. I was confident Solo was going to be there. And that's where, I felt like you had some of those missed opportunities, like not putting Solo in there to have the interaction with Jacob Fatu or anyone else, right? Even some of the stuff I didn't feel like there was that much in terms of, continuing the Drew McIntyre stuff. Even some of the other things, right? They had really built up. I didn't feel like there was that level of sort of detail put into it that maybe we thought coming into the match. Now, look, I know you guys are saying, hey, I wasn't saying Solo should have won the Rumble. Let's be clear about that. But I did think Solo being in there would have added a lot more sort of interesting dynamics, especially with Jacob Fatu. So it is a great question. We know it'll get addressed. Jacob Fatu has made, kind of alluded to he's off the leash now, right? So we will know eventually why Solo wasn't in there, and he'll be back at some point soon. But you've got to wonder, what's Jacob Fatu's direction? But we'll talk about that in a second. All right, quickly, to wrap up the Cody Owens thing, good match. I mean, these two beat the hell out of each other. The bump spots, on the ladder, the backs of these two got to be in a lot of pain. I've got to believe that these two are going to be getting some ice out to heal up the wounds from this match. But it adds a little different dynamic for Cody, which my prediction is he's still going to face Cena at WrestleMania, and we'll see if that's the case or if they take this, another direction, because they certainly took it another direction tonight with Jey winning the Rumble. The tag team match, DIY against Motor City Machine Guns. Thought it was a good match, as expected. They kind of had to sprint through some things. We knew they wouldn't get 30 minutes or anything like that, but thought it was a good match. And I figured that, DIY would retain. The Street Profits getting involved, thought that was interesting. They need kind of a new edge to them. So I like the fact that they're trying something different now with the Street Profits. And so T-Rob's comment here, your 8-year-old thought KO was done for. Well, he was down and out, wasn't he? KO will sell like nobody's business for sure. So the man was out of it after that spot there with Cody sending him through the ladder. Okay. Elsewhere, let's talk about the Women's Rumble match, and then we'll get back around to the men's match because we'll probably spend the most time on that. Like I said, we probably won't go, an hour plus tonight like sometimes we usually do, but we probably come back tomorrow, and I'm thinking we may do something in prime time tomorrow night, another late night show, kind of giving maybe more focused thoughts on what we think this means for WrestleMania 41. You guys like the live stuff, so we might try to do that tomorrow night. But the Women's Rumble match, look, I had the same thought here. I just thought the Women's Rumble match was just too predictable, right? And I honestly thought it was going well. I really was enjoying it. You had, Jordan Grace comes out. Great reaction. That told you exactly what her future is going to look like in WWE. The reaction was tremendous. She looked great in the ring in terms of just all the different moves, all that. I thought she was a standout. Roxanne Perez obviously was a standout, coming out early and getting all the way, to the final, 3 there. And then I felt like once everybody got in, you had the surprises. Alexa Bliss is back. Yes, she's back. And here's two. I said this immediately after. I think they're clearly leading us in the direction of Alexa versus Liv Morgan based on the elimination there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a WrestleMania match. Alexa Bliss comes back, get there in there with Liv. I know some tag team stuff's been bantered about with all that, but I like Alexa versus Liv. I think that's a good match to do for WrestleMania. And so, again, you had Trish. Nikki Bella comes out at the 30 spot. I probably would have swapped it because I think the expectation for the 30 spot was like AJ Lee or Becky Lynch. I probably would have put Alexa in that spot instead of Nikki Bella. Not to knock Nikki, but I just think you probably would have had, kind of that more shocked reaction when it seemed like everyone sort of knew that Nikki was coming back. You would have had more of the surprise with Alexa, I think. But once we got everybody in the ring in the women's match, then it kind of just became about Nia Jax just eliminating everyone. And I feel like we've seen that so many times now. Then again, look, it's a Rumble. Nia's the most powerful one in there, I guess. It makes sense. But I just didn't like the way it kind of played out from there. You guys know, my initial pick was Bianca, and then I think it was T-Rob, actually, who convinced me to pick Charlotte by the end of the stream we did a couple days ago. But I feel like we didn't get a lot from Bianca and Naomi here in terms of like having some of those teases. Obviously, there was no Jade, so maybe that's why like you didn't have anything, to go with. But I thought there could have been more, in terms of that. I mean, Bianca come in, looked great. I was hoping we'd maybe get Rhea versus Bianca, which we may still get, but I was thinking maybe it comes through Bianca winning the Rumble. But look, Nia just destroys everybody, eliminates everybody, and then it comes down to, okay, it's like you're picking between Charlotte or Nia. And we all know the online fan sentiment for both of those two is not always the best. And so it did feel like they got there pretty quickly, T-Rob. I agree with that. Just because you knew Charlotte was going to win at that point. You knew Nia wasn't winning. I mean, look, we thought maybe they would go with a surprising result for either the men's or women's Rumble, but I just didn't think it was going to be Roxanne Perez if they went that route. Now, again, they gave the surprise to the men's Rumble, which we'll get back to shortly. But I know it's like the easiest path is just to go from point A to point B. Like, don't go in a circle. Don't veer off and just go, all right, we're getting Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton. Just go ahead and have Charlotte win the Rumble, right? But I just thought it was a little bit more, kind of predictable than you wanted. And just quickly, yes, there was a little bit of that tense moment between Bianca and Naomi. I think I wanted a little bit more, maybe. But also, remember, that was me factoring in thinking that Bianca was going to maybe win the match. And then I think you would have certainly got more tension, if it had come down to those two in the final 3 or 4 or something like that. But it didn't happen. And I thought that was maybe also a little bit of a missed opportunity, right? To maybe even just get them to the Final Four, have them kind of factor into each other's elimination somehow in a more significant way. So, yeah. But we'll see. Okay, so Kevin, I probably always appreciate Kevin giving me the updates from the post-show press conference. So Cody, injuries, not going to do the press conference. Yeah, so playing up Cody really selling the injuries from that ladder match, which is a good idea for sure. Look, I'm with you, Corey. I thought Jade would maybe come back here, but it seemed like it was reported before the show she was not going to come back. So, yeah, that just, it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. But, yeah, so there you go. I'm sorry. I did forget about that one spot. I apologize. A lot has happened. Jey Uso winning the Rumble is really throwing me off here. But there was that one spot where Naomi gives the hug, right? And then it is Bianca who comes up looking like she's a little pissed. She's a little jealous at that, right? And so you did get a little bit of that, Michael. I appreciate the $4.99 super chat again. But yes, you're right. And that's why, yeah, exactly. That's why I thought maybe you're going to eventually get Jade coming in later, but that didn't happen. So they gave you a little bit, maybe more so than I gave them credit for, but maybe thought it just would be a little bit more than that. But that's okay. At least that's a moment they can point back to and say, all right, they kind of gave us a little bit of the, they gave us a little preview of maybe what's to come eventually down the road. So, anyway, so yeah, I thought that was it. Charlotte winning, again, not surprised, but just thought it was, I don't know. Wasn't my choice. Like I said, I like the idea of Bianca winning, but Charlotte winning does quickly get you just from point A to point B. Now you set up the match between Charlotte and Tiffany. We know that's what you're going to get. I know that everybody thinks maybe we're going to Charlotte and Rhea. I just don't see it. I think that it's got to be Charlotte and Tiffany. I think that's the match that makes the most sense for those two. And yeah, I mean, I think now it's just a matter of who's going to face Rhea, right? And so, yeah, but we'll see how it plays out there. So again, we'll have additional thoughts on the Women's Rumble, but Trish Stratus came back. Trish looking like a 2005 still for Trish Stratus. Thought she did, great as usual. Alexa got the big pop. Again, the NXT talents, Julia comes up. We talked about Roxanne Perez getting the opportunity. Lash Legend was in there. Stephanie Vaquero's in there. So lots of, good stuff, I thought. Jada Parker had an opportunity. So, yeah. And look, we'll transition that to the men's match. And there were a lot of people thinking The Rock was about to show up at number 31, right? And some people thought instead of I Show Speed taking Akira Tozawa's position, what was it, at number 8? Many people thought maybe The Rock's coming in at 8. Well, I knew The Rock wasn't coming in at 8. He's not working another 22 entrants, I can tell you that. But, yeah, so I think that, a lot of people thought this would be the case, and quickly to tie it up on the men's side, yeah, the women's side, I think Charlotte is definitely, by her coming back and winning the Rumble, I think it's clearly going to make the fans want to boo her, because I told you guys, I think the fans will cheer Tiffany over Charlotte. I just think they're going to. So I don't think that will be surprising. But just my honest opinion. But yeah, like The Rock coming out at 31. I think a lot of people thought maybe that would happen. And it would have been great, right? You get to number 30, you think that's it. Logan Paul, which I'm not going to lie to you guys. You know in the prediction stream, I said my biggest fear, and I was worried that they were going to have Logan Paul win this Rumble. And I was thinking he was going to be the shocking result. I didn't think it'd be Jey. I thought it'd be Logan Paul. And I was like, if that happens, I don't know what's going to happen in Indianapolis tonight. But there will be a lot of unhappy people if Logan Paul wins this thing. So I think Jey was the better choice. But, yeah, like the whole Rock thing. I mean, listen, I think this guarantees it, right? There is no Rock at WrestleMania 41. Not in a match, at least. He may be there, but he's not going to wrestle. Because otherwise, you would have to do something here. I mean, period, right? There's no other way to put it. Like, you would have to have done something here if The Rock was going to be there. And the way they've set it up with Punk and Rollins and Reigns does make you wonder. I mean, is that the match? And look, I'll have a little more time to digest this and think about the different combinations they have to work with. And that's why maybe we'll try to do something tomorrow night too, just to kind of, add more thoughts on this. So hope you guys will join me. If you're joining in for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Always appreciate you watching here. We are going to try to do more live streams these days. We might start doing like some, not daily, but regular live streams throughout the week, talking about the big topics, what stood out with the shows and the storylines and all that. So that is something we're going to try to do more of here on the channel, so I can talk more with you guys. But I think, yeah, like it's okay. And here's an interesting idea from Brian. As I'm thinking through this, it's like, do you do something like that? Do you, what's kind of the combination you work with there? I mean, it feels like for a WrestleMania, having those guys as tag team, it feels a little anticlimactic, right? Thinking about the idea of doing Punk versus Reigns and then have them team up instead. the favor is still there. And someone mentioned earlier something about Jey. If you're still in the chat, sorry, I missed it earlier, but there was an idea out there. Here it is. Okay, fill up $2 super chat. Will the favor with Punk play a part in Jey winning? So that's an interesting idea, and I'm curious how we get there. But yeah, like the Punk favor is still out there, and we'll think more about what that's going to mean here moving forward. But yeah, like I told you, my theory on the Punk favor would have been something like maybe they just swapped the numbers. So maybe Reigns would have came out very early in the match, Punk comes out later, and then eventually it's revealed maybe they swap numbers. Heyman swapped the numbers, right? And Punk would have had to win in that scenario, but it didn't happen. But it is an interesting idea in terms of how they do this. Yeah, so Punk stepped over Reigns as Reigns is laying down after he got destroyed by Rollins, and then Punk just kind of gave Heyman a stare. So what does that all mean? We're going to find out. We know that. But, hey, Punk's put on some muscle. I actually saw that earlier. I was looking at like an image and, I was searching for an image, and I saw one of Punk, like, I guess it was in AEW. And then I saw him like in the comeback here now in WWE, and I'm like, man, that dude he's like this, man. He's like built. So he's CM Hunk. Is that right? Is that right, chat? But yes, hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. So I listen. I thought that was a really good ladder match. No question about it. Thought the guys again put it all on the line. We cannot say that, right? But they didn't put it all on the line there. But yeah, it was tremendous stuff there for that. And I'm thinking of other things that stood out from this match. Like I said, we've got to figure out all this and how it's going to lead, as Corey says, into the Elimination Chamber. How do we get there, right? And who all is going to be in there? I mentioned earlier, I think we know Cena's in there. Punk, Rollins, Reigns. You would think those four are going to be in that Elimination Chamber. Then it's probably Zayn, maybe McIntyre. What does Owens do, right? Orton. There's a lot of questions coming out of this. And I mean, again, like it's like Solo, Jacob Fatu. What do we do with those guys? What's Jey Uso doing now for WrestleMania? I'm not saying that's everyone's top priority, but Jay's going to main event WrestleMania. Does that eventually, what happens there? So there's a lot of stuff still to go. And I mean, look, Ricky asks here, where do you see him going with Roman as we get closer to Mania? I mean, the way they set it up tonight, right? It felt like either you're doing Roman versus Seth because of the way Seth just completely took him out, but you had the stare down between Punk and Reigns, both just kind of furious at each other after they get eliminated. And so, is this the triple threat, right? I mean, or are these guys just going to be in the Elimination Chamber, and one of them winds up winning, which I don't think is going to be the case because I think Cena's winning. And so, yeah, like it's kind of an interesting that they are really, as you say here. I mean, they really are kind of leading you towards Rollins and Reigns just based on what Reigns got from Rollins here. But you do know that Punk has to be involved somewhere, and so they may do the triple threat, but I feel like, if you're going to do the triple threat, are you just doing it based on the hatred, which there's plenty between these guys, or if that's a main event of night one or something, if you do Cody versus Cena on night two, then does it need a belt? I mean, I don't think it needs a title if you're just talking about the hatred, but man, it's going to be interesting. And look, I think, like I said, Sami Zayn's an interesting figure coming out of this because of the elimination. So now Sami, think about this, the ultimate underdog, Sami Zayn, is watching his friend Jey Uso get a world championship opportunity at WrestleMania. He's main eventing WrestleMania. Again, main eventing, whether it's, whether he's the last match or not, he has a chance to main event WrestleMania. And that was Sami Zayn's goal, right? And he got knocked out by Jey. Again, I didn't think at the time they made enough of the elimination of that. I think maybe commentary could have maybe just missed it somehow, but I thought that was a bigger deal when it happened. And especially, I'm thinking it's a big deal when it happened. But what do you think I'm thinking after Jey wins the Rumble, right? That makes it even more fascinating. Remember, too, yeah, Ricky, I'm on the same thing here. I thought Logan Paul was winning this thing. When it got to 3, I'm thinking Cena is way too obvious in this. Like, something is about to happen. And I thought it was going to be Logan Paul, not Jey, to win this thing. I'm like, oh, no, please no. I thought it was going to happen. But it was kind of that possibility that I was thinking, oh, boy. But remember, too, Logan Paul eliminated CM Punk, right? So when the hell they going to do that match, too? There's no way they're doing Punk and Logan Paul at WrestleMania, right? Come on. We can't take CM Punk to that. Come on. So, yeah, Punk was pissed, as Jessica says here. He's just completely pissed. You saw Punk's face when he got eliminated. Like, he just staring into Reigns' soul. And so, I'm not sure. So, listen, I will agree with this, and it's early, but I don't think Cena's winning the title at WrestleMania. I don't. I think it's a year-long experience here for the John Cena experience, the final farewell. I don't think he's winning the title at WrestleMania 41. So you may do Cody versus Cena. I don't think Cena's winning. But they may go with a feel-good story and say, hey, we're going to let him have it. But it kind of, you wonder, does it take out a little bit of the rest? But you also risk it by waiting later and later and later. If you want him to break the record and you wait till November or something, there's always the risk of an injury and those kind of things. So do they decide to do it? Don't know. We'll find out. Hey, here's an interesting thought. What about Solo? Does Solo turn here? Do we get a Solo turn? I told you guys eventually Solo is going to be, I know some of you guys don't want to, but eventually you're going to have to cheer the man Solo Sikoa because they're going to put him in that position. When Jacob Fatu destroys him, when Solo comes crawling back to the original bloodline, it's going to happen eventually. And they've left some of those things in there with Solo about how he's deep at heart. He tries to stick to the family values, right? He just decided to go rogue here to try to take the power. But, yeah, so anyways. All right, let's see what else we got. Corey, I don't even know what this is in reference to, but yes, like this whole thing is a mess, I will say, coming out of this because we thought we had it figured out, right? We thought we had it just set. All right, come on. It's going to be Cody Cena. That's our thought. That's at least with my prediction. Reigns versus Punk. Everything else will take care of itself. Now it's like with Jey winning, we got a lot of things to figure out here. We don't know how we're getting to some of this. So, yeah, Zayn went after Rollins too. So, like, that factors in. I mean, look, this is the point here. If you're talking about Jey, we mentioned it earlier, the journey of Jey Uso. I mean, this guy has, remember all the way back, when was that? You guys can remind me in the chat. It all runs together. But even like going back to that original Hell in a Cell match with Roman Reigns, right? What was that, 2020? 2021? It all, again, runs together for me. But, that's kind of what started the journey for Jey because he's trying to branch out, or, he was still in the bloodline at that time, but like you're trying to see, does he have what it takes, right? And then for him to get this opportunity, yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, good to see G Swole in here. Can't believe Jey won. Thought it's going to be Punk, but yeah, Jey already announced he was going for the World Heavyweight Championship. So now we wait to see, is it going to be as simple as Cody and John Cena, or do we get some other twists? Because they clearly have no problem with the twists here in some of this. So I think, as for whether Rollins is a heel, I think they kind of led us in that direction. But remember, too, I've talked about it. I think there are way more like shades of gray now in this Triple H era where it's sort of you can play both at any time, right? We've seen other people do that. It's like, Tiffany Stratton's a great example. Like, we've seen her play the full heel. We've also seen her play kind of, hey, cheer for this. It's kind of the same with Gunther at times. We've seen him in a couple of those different spots, right? If you have Gunther versus Logan Paul, you're cheering Gunther. But if it's Gunther versus Jey, or if it's Gunther versus Sami, well, you're going to cheer Jey or Sami. And so you can kind of play either role, I think, to perfection. And so, I think they clearly are hitting that point with Seth. And remember, Drew McIntyre's been reminding him time after time, like, come on, Seth, you need to look out for yourself. And so McIntyre and Owens, to me, have been the ones that are saying the things that are true. It's just, when are Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn going to realize it, right? And how does that change them moving forward? So, speaking, I forgot about this, but I thought Bron Breakker was like the star of the show there for a while. I thought he was clearly the star kind of in that early portion of the match. They clearly stacked the match to where they kind of put all the guys up front that you're like, okay, none of these guys have a chance to win. And it's not a knock on them, but it was just the star power that was to come. I thought it was a nice touch to have Penta and Ray start the match. As soon as Ray came out at number 1, I said, all right, it's done. Penta's number 2. Come on, you can't do anything other than Penta number 2, and they did. But I thought Breakker was the star. Had some of the stare downs with Jacob Fatu, had some other good stuff. So Bron Breakker's the future. We're going to be talking about this guy. We're going to be talking about this guy for years to come. So tremendous. But yeah. So let's see what else we got here coming out of this. I'm trying to think what else. So Cena winning a Money in the Bank. That's an interesting thought, right? But if he loses at WrestleMania, he's got to find another way back to that title shot, right? So that could be the interesting kind of idea that they work with. But a cash in from John Cena to win the whole thing. You feel like Cena's going to be a valiant hero, so he'll probably cash in ahead of time instead of just cashing in on the fly, maybe to win his championship. But some of you guys think maybe it is going to be Jey versus Cody. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like, listen, they did kind of leave kind of that story thread between Cody and Jey. There has been a little bit of that. So, like, they could certainly turn that direction. But I just think the way Cena's face told you the whole story, right? And so, your options are you could do Cody versus Jey, sure, if you think that's a possibility. And then you could do, Cena versus Gunther. That was my original thought. When this whole Cena thing started last July, I said, I could certainly see Cena versus Gunther. A lot of it, that would make sense, but, I just don't know. So, yeah, well, I think Braun Breaker is the future. I know someone said that in the chat, Chris. Yeah, I think Breaker he's the future of the company. Yeah, AJ Styles made his return, and we didn't talk about AJ. Good to see AJ back. He came back. He came back to do what? He came back to win the Rumble. Man said, you know what? I got to make sure I eliminate LA Knight on the way. So they're keeping that going. Those two we know have a long history together. Priest eliminating McIntyre I thought was interesting because they didn't really have a lot for Priest in this match. We didn't see him as an actual winner of this Rumble by any means, but I did think it was interesting they had him be the person to eliminate Drew McIntyre. Okay, so is it official? Says Cena announced he's in the Elimination Chamber. Well, yeah, I mean he's going to be in there whether he has or not. But we know that's his last opportunity, right? He didn't win the Rumble, and I think it's kind of cool. Again, no matter what your thoughts are on Jey, this could have been as easy as Triple H going up and saying, "Hey, John Cena, you're going to win the Rumble, right? You're going to WrestleMania. Here's your shot." But I mean, having the opportunity to kind of put over a guy like Jey, who it's kind of, if you think about it, Jey is kind of like the anti-John Cena in that, like, and I know some people in the chat here are not the biggest fans of Jey. I get it. But the crowd in the arenas, like, there's no cheer and booing Jey Uso right now. Like, it's just, the yeets are as over as can be, as we know. And so the man's just getting cheered everywhere he goes. So, I think that's something that certainly stands out without question. So, kind of having Cena put over Jey, in a sense, at the end of this Rumble was pretty incredible. All right, let's see what else we need to get to. Again, guys, I am going to hop off here in a couple minutes because I kind of want to have some other things to do, and we're going to, again, do another. I think we're going to try to do another stream tomorrow night because I want to think more about this WrestleMania type experience here. What are we going to get in that card? And I think we'll be able to kind of maybe iron out, maybe make some predictions tomorrow night for what we're going to do with that WrestleMania 41 card. I think it's kind of fascinating to look at. But yeah, give me a rating, give me a number. What would you grade this show? What did you like? What was your favorite thing? Which match did you enjoy the most? Was it the men's match, the women's match? Brian says enjoy the men's match more. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think the men's match ultimately, was it the best ever? It certainly gave us the most shocking ending, I think, ever. Because I don't think there were some people part of our audience who did pick Jey. But I don't think there were a lot of people who did pick Jey out there. So I thought it was a good show. I thought the ladder match, to me, certainly hit the expectations. You knew they were going to get violent. Cody taking it to his head. A little bit of that dark side from Cody. Thought that was good. I did like the men's match better than the women's match. But, you had some good surprises, I think, in the women's match. I think that really stood out. You needed more of those there than you did the men's match because we said there were so many kind of established people, established top superstars in this men's match. So, certainly I think that was something that stood out. But, all right, so we got some scores coming in, 8.5, 7, 8. Yeah, I thought it was a good show. Even the tag team match didn't get a lot of time, but it's a 4-match show, right? I mean, there's not a lot. You get to do Rumble matches. So, yeah, so we'll find out. But, yeah, I mean, look, he got an 8, saying the only thing would have made it better, Charlotte not winning. I just, again, I get it. That's the match they're going with, it seems. And it does, if you think about it, it gives you a little more unpredictability. You got TV to fill over the next couple weeks. Is Charlotte going to choose Rhea or is she going to choose Tiffany, right? She has the history with Rhea, so you can play that up, without a doubt. So you can do that. So I think it makes sense why they are considering it, but I just thought maybe Bianca would be a better choice. And again, we talked about some of the other options. Thought Becky may come back here, right? No Becky yet. Will Becky factor into the plans at WrestleMania? I think at least, to me, there's 2 for sure things happening on the women's side at WrestleMania 41. If I have to make my predictions right now, I do think it's Charlotte versus Tiffany. I think it's Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan. But again, where does that leave Bianca? Where does that leave, Naomi? They're the tag team. So who are they facing? I know there was some talk that maybe Liv and Raquel could get the tag team title shot at WrestleMania. I don't know. I like the Liv versus Alexa singles match. But we'll see. So Ricky's going to call it. He's going to go with Charlotte and Rhea. Look, I am never going to be upset about a Charlotte versus Rhea match. Have your thoughts on Charlotte all you want, but those two have probably some of the best chemistry of any WWE women's wrestlers in history. Anytime they have a match, it's great. So I will not be upset if that is the route they go. I just think the fresh match probably is to see what you get with the Charlotte versus Tiffany. Because Tiffany kind of, maybe in a sense, is like the new Charlotte, if that makes sense, right? She feels like that person who could just dominate the division for years to come, based on kind of her star power. So Calvin's going to go to 10 out of 10. Liked it. Good, Calvin. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I think, I mean, look, that may be the case. You kind of split them going into WrestleMania 41, and Charlotte just, completely turns heel after the show and just loses it, right? I could see that happening. So, yeah, my thought, you guys know, I think Tiffany is getting cheered over Charlotte. I just think it's inevitable. But, yeah, we'll see. I agree. I don't. To me, this isn't probably going to go down as like one of my top 3 Rumbles or anything like that. Again, you guys know my order. I'd still probably put 92, 2001, and then maybe it'd be 2008, 94. There's some different options for 3, but I thought this got really good down the stretch. But you kind of knew that this was going to be all about sort of the stacked members, and I think again, there's more unpredictability coming out of it. We thought we'd have more answers than we do. Right? And we don't have those answers coming out of this match because Jey winning was kind of a curveball. Because, like I said, I didn't expect it. Some of you guys did. I just did not. If you looked at the betting odds or whatever, if anyone was out there betting on Jey Uso, I bet they won a lot of money because I don't think Jey was considered one of the favorites at all. Anyways, so Corey, bringing up what I brought up the other day. In my opinion, 2022 Royal Rumble, this easily topped that. I truly think that's probably like a bottom 3 Royal Rumble of all time. I maybe put that up there with, I don't know. I have a lot to try to think back on, but 95 pretty bad in terms of star power, but you did have Shawn and the British Bulldog going from 1-2 all the way to the end. I like that, but star power was not great. But man, I did not love 2022. I thought that was just not great Royal Rumble, but this one was better. And, so, look, Speed's out there for everybody, and you knew some people get upset about Speed being in the Rumble, right? But my goodness, did Braun Breaker just tear that young man in half? He just completely destroyed him with the spear, and so there was a hard thud whenever he hit the mat after the spear. It is. Listen, it's troubling looking back at the late Rumbles because you go back and you watch them, you're like, oh my gosh, that is forever ago. And yeah, a lot of these guys, it's brutal. All right, let's see what else you got here. So it's gonna be the first minute you get to watch with your kids. That's awesome, or where they understand what's going on. Yeah. So favorite wrestler won the Rumble. So hey, that's all that matters. Enjoy it. Like I said, you guys know I'm living the dad toddler life these days, so mine certainly has no idea about this. Although I think he did look up at one point and was, he was very keyed in. It looked like on the Cody Owens match. Not sure that was the match that he may have been keyed up on, right? T-Rob, your comment, by the way, that where I'm headed next. So I've got to jump for this one to another stream. So it's kind of wild. So. Yeah, everyone thought that maybe Kai was going to enter. Didn't happen. Was in the front row. But I thought maybe they're going to get an RVD. I thought Rob Van Dam might enter. He's sitting in the front row there. I thought maybe he may enter. Good to see Kurt Angle, though. Angle was out there in the front row. Love Kurt. One of my all-time favorites, as you guys know. So where was Big Jim? Yeah, look, Big Jim was in there. But I'm curious where they go with Big Jim after this. Like, his brother just gets a shot at winning the world title now at WrestleMania. So where do they go with Big Jim from here? Big Jim. I just love it. So I'm going to stick with this prediction too, Brian. I think Solo versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania is another one I would probably pencil in. I think that makes sense. You got 2 nights to fill. What are we thinking? Probably 7 matches each night. I don't, we always talk about like 5 matches. They love the 5, but it gets WrestleMania. You got to do like 7 or something. Right? I don't even remember what they did last year. You guys have to remind me on what the match number was last year. Maybe it was. I don't remember. But I don't think we're getting back to Jimmy versus Jey anytime soon. Certainly not on a WrestleMania, but you do have to wonder what Jey or what Jimmy does coming out of this. So, Will asks, now that Alexa's back, you've got to think she's going to figure into the Wyatt Six maybe at some point, right? And remember, we talked about, there was a report out there, we knew the Wyatt Six got transferred to SmackDown, but the report was somebody was injured. So maybe that's why they weren't being featured, but now that Alexa's back, you've got to wonder, what's going to go there. Yeah, I thought the Hardys, I said it. I thought the Hardys, thought maybe Jeff, maybe Matt might be one of the surprise entrances. But like I mentioned too, you just didn't need a lot of surprise entrances in the men's match because, you have such a, had a roster, and we said maybe the best build to a Rumble ever. Was this the best Rumble ever? I don't know that I'd go that far, but it was the best build to the Rumble ever. And so you had so many people where you didn't have to do a lot of surprises. The women's match you had to fill with more surprises, which you got some of those. And I think, the NXT ones could be classified as surprises. I guess we didn't get any NXT men's surprises, did we? That's a little unusual. So you didn't get anyone from the men's side on NXT. Which, again, that also shows you how well they've done on the main roster. So, yeah, Corey, we'll come back. Again, maybe tomorrow night. I'm going to try to do another stream for you guys tomorrow night. We might start doing, like I said, more streams. I enjoy the interaction because it leads to good discussion. But you do have to do a huge match with Roman Reigns, right? I mean, it's got to be massive. And that's why everything told us at the end of this match that it was going to be some combination with Punk and Rollins. And so, do you do a triple threat match? But what's at stake, right? Can you do just a triple threat match between those three with nothing on the line? Just the personal hatred? Can you get by with that? I don't know. Because they all three have the goal of winning the title. So it's something to certainly think about. There was those three, but yeah, I thought Trick might enter this one too. I thought maybe you'd have some Trick, Carmelo. The one interaction we didn't get, I'm gonna be honest with you, that I thought we were gonna get. AJ Styles makes his return, and I thought we may get the interaction with Joe Henry, but it didn't happen. Joe Henry wasn't there. We said that was going to happen. But, yeah. But as for Rock Roman, it's not happening this year, it doesn't seem. So we've got to wait another year on that. But, all right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Again, I appreciate you joining in. Those were just rapid-fire thoughts. We do after this, with the Rumble or any of the PLEs. We just do some rapid-fire thoughts for about 45 minutes. We'll come back, more focused videos. I'll give you more thoughts on what I think is going to happen. I appreciate you guys jumping in. Again, great crowd as always. Have a lot of fun with these, and we are going to start doing more live shows. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back. More thoughts. Again, my goal is to do something again tomorrow night. We'll talk more about this and maybe make it focused on WrestleMania. So maybe looking ahead, early predictions for what we think that card's going to look like, and a lot more fun stuff on the way here on the channel. So appreciate you guys. Hit that subscribe button again. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live, when new videos pop up. Again, keep thinking about what's that WrestleMania 41 card going to look like. We'll talk about it, and keep sharing your thoughts in the comments on the Royal Rumble. So appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon at Wrestling Reaction.